Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another Sims Info and Thoughts video. So today there was an Inside Maxis live stream, and while they did not visually give us any sneak peeks at future content, they did drop some interesting hints during the Hot Topics portion. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing is something I never thought they would address, and it's we want a higher level of challenge and depth in the base game. And SimGuru George said that they are open to our suggestions about how to give more challenge, and that on August 19th they are going to have an open thread for 24 hours for suggestions, and this is much like what they did a few months ago. So I am interested in seeing what will come of that. However, I would say this is not a problem that's exclusive to the base game, but to the packs as well. I've referenced multiple times the quest to become a spellcaster through live mode just being way too easy. Because if you're going to acquire something as powerful as becoming a spellcaster, then I think that should require a lot more dedication. Discovery University, I think, has a great level of challenge, especially if I play as more than 2 Sims at the same time and have a decent amount of classes. Then it becomes a lot more of a balancing act, and it's generally a struggle at times. But as far as the base game goes, I think there's a couple of systems already in place that are great for adjusting the difficulty to our liking, and that's the law traits and the newly introduced law challenges, because you do have a lot of law traits that make it easier to boost certain skills or emotions, and then you have the law challenges, which can make things more difficult for you. One of the past wishlist videos that I did was about burglars and how I'd like to see them return, and I don't want them to be just the same sort of crime rate across the whole game no matter what world you're playing in. I want that to be adjustable through the law trait system, because yeah, there is lot challenges, but then if we have the burglar as a lot challenge, then it's still the same thing as before almost, except it's just either no burglars at all, or just the same rate of burglars if you choose to have them. So without law traits, I would have it so that you would have an average amount of burglaries, and then you would have a no crime law trait if you don't want that particular house to be robbed at all. And then you could go the other way, where there'd be a law trait where you'd have way more burglaries than usual. But moving on to the next question, which I found pretty interesting because I was super tempted to call this one in yesterday's video, but I was like, nah, they probably won't. But will there be werewolves, fairies, and zombies in The Sims 4? And they said maybe, but they want to make sure to give them the same amount of love that vampires and spellcasters have. So they specifically mentioned those two, not ones like the aliens and the mermaids. I guess they're also aware of the fact that, yep, since they were side features of a bigger pack, they didn't really get as much depth as the vampires and the spellcasters. I could imagine a werewolves game pack being a thing, but I'm not really sure about fairies and zombies, unless maybe they did do a supernatural expansion pack like they did for The Sims 3, where we'd have the werewolves and the zombies and the fairies, and maybe even an update to the spellcasters and vampires, though you'd still need to buy Realm of Magic and Vampires to have those occults in the first place. But we would get an update where maybe the spellcasters would have more spells, the vampires could get some additional powers or something like that. Maybe that could be a thing. But then suddenly things got a lot more interesting with a rather random change in topic, with them saying that their current roadmap is focused on improving content that's in the game, including a relaxing refresh of an existing game pack that's coming soon. So what game pack could that be? Well, thinking back to the game packs that have released so far, Spa Day is easily the most obvious choice because they said relaxing refresh. So then it's like, oh, well, at the spa, that's what you do. And I guess even though it's not my first choice, because Dine Out I think needs more of an update, Spa Day is generally one of the worst received game packs. So maybe they will add some more content to that. I do remember how a lot of people were saying, oh, I wish we could run the spas, like how we can with things like retail stores and restaurants and vet clinics. And also, during that second stuff pack vote, which ended up becoming Nifty Knitting in the end, one of those ideas was revolving around self-care. I don't think they'll add all of these things into the game, but I would not be surprised if they added a couple of them, since I think it still matches with the overall theme. In particular, I think they could add that healthy living aspiration, since Spa Day didn't have an aspiration to begin with. And then I think they could also add in either the smoothie blender or the custom teas and herbal infusions. Another reason I could see why Spa Day would make sense to be the first game pack to get an update is that it is one of the first ones that released as well. It was number 2, so I think then they could be focusing more on updating older packs first before they get around to newer ones. Though also for this reason, I could imagine Outdoor Retreat being a viable choice, because that was number 1. And that was also not really a pack that has aged well for a lot of people, so perhaps they could also add more content to that. I do feel in Grand Falls there just isn't really enough to do. Not to mention that Outdoor Retreat also kind of goes with the whole relax and refresh language, because then you can go on vacation to relax and refresh your mind and body. So I think this is also a very possible choice. I know there is a lot of demand to have some updates for certain expansion packs, including Get Famous and Island Living, but I think they are just testing this out on a game pack first before they move up to an expansion pack and do the same sort of thing. It's going to be interesting to see how this first one turns out, because then we'll have a much better idea of what to expect. Because I am expecting this to be an update to an existing pack, not a separate DLC in a sort of My First Pet Stuff sort of situation. So I'm not expecting too much here, because it's not going to be something that we're going to have to pay extra for, I'm assuming. I'm also wondering if these pack updates will affect the timeline of releases of brand new packs. I was saying maybe in September we'll get an occult related game pack, but now it seems that we're going to get an update for Outdoor Retreat or Spa Day within that sort of time frame. So I am pondering if this is going to replace a second game pack for the year, even though I'm not expecting an update for an existing pack to be even close in scale to the amount of content we would get in a brand new game pack release. Either way, I'm so glad this is happening, because there was a survey released last year where they asked us what packs would we like to see updated the most between the expansion packs and the game packs. At this point, I was losing hope for that ever happening. It kind of reminds me of how I lost hope for toddlers, and then we got them just a few weeks later. Moving on to the next question, this is one that I've been wanting the answer to for quite a while. Are you planning on making the ocean swimmable in all worlds, not just Sulani? And this must have been like one of the biggest avoidance of a true answer that I've ever seen, where basically they address that yes, you can swim in Sulani and Brightchester and Mount Komorebi and Henford-on-Bagley, but they didn't say anything about whether they were gonna actually update past worlds. Just that they plan on continuing adding more swimmable areas in future worlds. To me, it sounds like they're saying no without fully saying no. Maybe it's just a no for the time being, but maybe they'll figure it out later or something. I just hope they do it eventually, because there's some really big missed opportunities here. Places like Granite Falls, Windenburg, Brindleton Bay, there's some really cool spots where, in my opinion, the water is just like screaming for my Sims to come swim in them, but they can't! Next question is, why are skin tones getting lighter over the course of the Sims games? While they did not directly answer that question, they said that they are going to still address this with a tiny overhaul of Townies from the base game all the way to Cottage Living, and that is going to include both visually and through the lore. I'm really intrigued to see how exactly they're going to go about this, because would this only affect new saves, or will they make it affect older saves too? Because, I mean, Bella Goth might not be in everybody's saves for those who have been playing since 2014. So will they somehow manage to figure it out so that Sims who are still remaining in older saves will get updates? I don't know. As far as the lore goes, I'm guessing what they're going to do is update some of the descriptions in the map view, but also add sentiments, because they're still a fairly recent addition to the game. So Sims in places like Willow Creek, or Windenburg, or Evergreen Harbor, they don't have any of those. So it would make sense to go back and add those to the Sims so that they don't really appear as outdated as the Sims in the newer packs. Maybe they'll also add likes and dislikes to the Sims, since we just got those very recently. And for the visuals, with the skin tones, pretty much the same thing can be said. We just got that skin tone update last December, so it would make sense to go back and give Sims like Bella Goth a darker skin tone. The last thing they did was do some community spotlights, including some stories, and they specifically gave a shout out to Krenricht, who you may know from the Answers HQ forums. She's been around for a long time, I think since the Sims 3 days, or perhaps even longer. And yeah, she's definitely a very important part of her community, so that was pretty cool to see her get a shout out. So overall, even though the live stream didn't really answer too much, I still found it entertaining to watch. And it is going to be interesting, I think, just seeing what the next few months will bring. Since they did no sort of actual preview for what the next free update will be about, then I'm still keeping my expectations very low for a possible anniversary update in September. And that wraps up another Sims Info and Thoughts video, so feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on the live stream and what game pack you think is going to be updated soon. And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest gaming content, including life simulations and more. So I'll talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!